Hi, Guntown Mike here, and welcome to the Pandora Celeste. If you're here, it's probably because you've come to find out about Pirates and Salvage. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through how to set up Pirates and Salvage, and then walk you through the key differences between Pirates and Salvage and the core game. But essentially, you will need a copy of the core game to play Pandora Celeste, and you'll set up that core game as per the rules on page 35 of the rulebook, the standard setup. And what you will need to do there is lay out the cards on the corners in the usual fashion. You'll need to shuffle the cargo deck and lay out the cargo cards, and you'll shuffle the new Big Nasties into the Big Nasty deck and lay out the mission and the emergency protocols depending on the mission and the type of game and duration of game you've decided to play. Now at that point, all you need to do is lay out the tokens on the board as per page 35 of the rulebook, and then you're ready to introduce the pirates. Now I'm going to set up and walk you through the game as if you were playing with the pirates against an AI crew. So there's one more thing you need to do before we introduce the pirates to the ship, and that is you need to find the scenario markers from the core game, and you need to place one face down into every room that contains a member of the crew according to the setup on page 35. And once you've done that, you're ready to introduce the pirates. Now, I'm not going to go into any detail about what Weka Wabbit, Androgyna, and the Whistler can do, because if you've got this far, you probably already know that. What you need to know is why they want to get on this ship. And to do that, you need to select a mission. And there are 3 missions that come with the expansion. You have the classic salvage mission, where you're basically running around the ship trying to steal stuff. And in that mission, the cargo bays are a great way of getting extra salvage points. Or you might have been sent on a corporate raid where you're trying to find out the company's secrets and steal them. And in that case, you're looking for the classic smoking gun, and anyone who's played Pandora Celeste knows what the smoking guns are all about. Or you might be trying to rescue the crew because you know what the ship's all about. But because you know what the ship's all about, the other thing you have to do, as well as rescuing the crew, is you have to find XWT control in one of the tech cargo bays at the back of the ship and take that with you. And if any of you have ever encountered the Sentinel program before, good luck with that. As well as the pirate missions, you can also choose to select any number of emergency protocols. These are the automatic defense mechanisms that the ship has engaged to try and defend itself. And they're just there to add a bit of a time limit and make the game a little bit more difficult. It's entirely up to you how many you introduce, usually between 1 and 3. For my purposes, I've chosen to use the Jettison protocol, which in 4 game turn cycles is going to explosively eject all of the cargo out of the back of the ship, basically wrecking it. So I think I'd better get a wiggle. If there's fewer than 3 of you, you may want to pick your pirates based upon the mission, because Androgyna is great for decoupling the cargo bays, and she's also great for hacking into the safes. The Whistler is fantastic running around in the back of the ship because he can basically see in the dark. And Weka is great for the corporate raid, looking for the smoking gun, because he can get up in the vents and run around in the vents trying to find the spy bot that's running around in the vents. And basically, once you've chosen your pirates, you need to decide where their shuttle is going to dock. And the shuttle is the box, the pirate box, which is designed to be stored within the component inserts of the core game, because I hate it when expansions, etc., give you extra boxes that you've got to keep elsewhere. So, as you can see, you can slot it into the component inserts of the game, and once you've emptied the box of all of its stuff, the bottom of the box basically is the pirate shuttle. And at this point, you're choosing where you want to dock. And there are 3 places that you can dock the pirate shuttle. You can dock at the back of the ship, like so, or you can dock at the cargo shuttle, over there, like so. But if you dock at the cargo shuttle, you're basically going to have to bypass the airlock that takes you from the cargo shuttle into the main area of the ship. So you're most likely to want to dock in docking bay starboard, which is free. And as you can see, the shuttle will basically slot into the docking bay like so. And at that point, you are ready to go. And you can basically put your pirate crew on the shuttle like so. And having done that, you're ready to raid the Pandora Celeste. If you are familiar with Pandora Celeste and you don't need a recap of the rules, then I suggest you go to this time code and this symbol here, which is where I am going to pick up and start telling you new stuff that you need to know. For the rest of you, those of you who are not familiar with Pandora Celeste, here's a quick rundown of the basic rules. And at the heart of Pandora Celeste is this deck of 9 personalised cards, personalised to each character. Every character has their own individual deck of 9 action cards. And you shuffle your deck, you deal yourself a hand of 5 cards, 6 if you are playing true solo, and these are the cards that you get to play with. On your turn, and we go round the table, taking your turns, on your turn, you're basically going to play 1 card. You might get to play another one later, but at the start, you're basically playing 1 card to do what it says on the card. If the symbols on the card are in separate boxes, then you get to do one of those actions or the other, not both. All of the symbols are explained in the symbols quick reference that comes with the game. If the symbols are in the same box, you can do both of those actions in whatever order you like, and you do not have to do all of the actions. So in the case of this particular card, you can pick up and creep, or you can creep and pick up, or you could just creep. It's entirely up to you. If you have a set of dual symbols in 2 separate boxes, you have to pick which set of symbols you're going to use. And everyone has a batteries card, which looks like this. And when you play this, you play it face up into your discard pile in order to draw back a number of cards from your discards equal to the number of batteries on the card. Any cards from your discards, whether they're face up or face down, and you then get to play one of those cards immediately. It's a way of getting stuff from your discards, actions from your discards that you need to do at the point where you need to do them. And on that note, I guarantee you that at some point during this game, you're going to want to do something and you won't have that action icon to do it with, at which point you can always play 2 cards face down onto your discard pile in order to do anything that it says on the quick ref chart, and then you take a noise card that matches the noise of that action and you place it on top of those 2 cards that says that's the noise that those cards are making. And you do that because every action in this game makes noise, and you keep playing, going around the table until one of you passes, at which point everybody else gets to play 2 cards in a row if they want to, then they must pass, and at that point you compare noise. Whoever has the most red noise cards in their face-up discards is the first target in that section of the ship. And you can have a first target in the front of the ship, and you can have a stern target in the back of the ship. That everything nasty on the ship is basically going to zero in on if it follows its instincts. At that point, all red security doors on the ship that are not in the cargo bays close. Cargo bays will stay open. And you have a nasty action round. And during the nasty action round, you're basically going to be drawing nasty action cards. You're going to be looking at what's on these cards to see whether, if it's a big nasty or a little nasty, whether it follows its instincts or does something else. At some point, I guarantee you, there's going to be a fight. And when that happens, these cards double as combat cards. You will draw a card. You will look at the top hitbox if it's a big nasty attacking, or if you're attacking with a weapon. You look at the bottom hitbox if it's a little nasty or you're attacking with your fists. Red hits, blue misses. There is a higher percentage chance of the top hitbox hitting than there is of the bottom hitbox hitting. And there is a mechanic to push your luck, but I'm not going to go into that in any great detail here. To move through the ship, you play a card with movement arrows on it. In this case, this would be a move 3 because it's a triple-headed arrow. And if I wanted to move 3, I would play this card face up into my discard pile, and then Wacker could basically move 1 across this movement arrow here, 2 across this movement arrow here, 3 across the third movement arrow, moving 3 into this room. Having got into this room, there's a token in this room, so he would turn the token face up to find out what it is. In this case, it is token number 29. So I would look through the stern deck for the back of the ship, and I would find card number 29. This is a nasty. It's a big nasty because it's got a big nasty symbol here, and I place it into the active nasty area like so. If it had a tool symbol in the top left corner like this here, then it would be a tool, and Wecker would have the chance to pick it up. As it is, he's currently standing in a swarm of scuttlebugs. So that, in a nutshell, is the basics of Pandora Celeste. So what's new? One of the first new things is Wacker's just discovered that he's standing in a swarm full of scuttlebugs. He probably doesn't want to stay there, so he might want to move out. And one of the options that he could do is take what's known as a follow-up action. And when you do a follow-up action, you play any card you like face down from your discard pile to play any other card you like from your hand face up and do what it says on the card. In this case, Wecker is playing his creep card, which allows him to creep out of that room without disturbing the nasties. Because the way these films work is the nasties are on the other side of the room. They haven't noticed you until you make some noise trying to get through the room, at which point they suddenly turn around and turn on you. So if you creep out of the room, you're fine. You don't disturb the nasties. If you move out of the room, you've made noise and they will go for you as you leave. So what else is new in Pirates and Salvage? Well, one of the cool new things is Pirates is a team game, and each pirate has a cool new action called Team Up, which allows them to act as a team. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that the Whistler is here and Androgynate is here, and the Whistler has got to this door but doesn't have any unlock actions to unlock it with. What he can do is he can play the Team Up card into his active defense like so, and this allows any other pirate to remotely unlock that door. So that's one way that Team Up works. Another way that it works is, let's say the Whistler was under threat by something big and nasty in that same room, then the Whistler could paint that target remotely, and his teammates could basically fire their ranged weaponry from anywhere on that side of the ship into that room, targeting the target the Whistler's painted. So you get this, if this was a movie, you get this cool shot of Wecker's missile traveling through the vents and zeroing in on the same room as the Whistler, which is pretty cool stuff. If you're playing as just the pirates, you can basically operate the crew as part of the nasties within the game, working to their own rudimentary hour. And the way this works is basically anytime a pirate enters a room with a crew token seeded into it, you turn over the token to see what the number is. And if that number is less than the number on the turn cycle tracker, then you activate the cleanup protocol, which is one of the protocols that you get within this game. And that token becomes a cleaner bot that's trying to get in the way of the pirates. It's more of an inconvenience than a real danger, but it's still a pain in the butt. However, if the number is greater than or equal to the turn cycle number, then you replace that token with the relevant member of the crew, in this case, Greaseball, and you find their best combat card, place it in the active nasty area, and you draw from the agenda deck a random agenda. In this case, Greaseball has basically decided that the only way to be sure is to essentially set the self-destruct on one of the engines and nuke this ship in orbit. So that's basically what he's going to be trying to do for the rest of the game. When his turn comes up during the active nasty round, Greaseball is now going to try to head towards the engines to do that. And the way he does that is if he's in a room which he deems to be hostile, he will creep out of that room up to 3 rooms away to try and fulfill his agenda. Otherwise, he will move up to 6 rooms to try and fulfill his agenda. Once he's got there, he's deemed to have fulfilled his agenda, and at that point, he's going to try and get off the ship by the best means possible, which usually involves stealing your pirate shuttle. But the crew aren't the only thing that you've got to worry about on this ship, because in this new expansion there are 3 new big nasties, and believe me, they operate very differently to the nasties you've come across before. For one thing, they don't wait for the emergency protocols to be shut down. In Pirates and Salvage, a big nasty will spawn in the area of the ship where the pirates are making the most noise at the start of every nasty action round, 4 as many nasty action rounds as there are pirates. So if you've got 3 pirates in the game, 3 big nasties are guaranteed to spawn one round after another. And believe me, they are nasty. In one, you've got the Cyber Slaver. Now, the Cyber Slaver wants to augment all humanoid life. When it follows its instincts, it's basically going to move 3 towards the nearest humanoid that there is, whether it's a pirate or whether it's a crew member, really doesn't matter, and attack to augment. When it hits you, first time it hits you, it does 1 damage. Second time it hits you, it does 2 damage. Third time it hits you, it does 3 damage, and so on. And every time it hits you, when you take a wound, instead of placing the wound face up in your wound tracker the way you used to, you place the wound face down in your wound tracker in the highest available wound slot, and you place a wound marker on top of it. That wound is now completely unhealable, and it also has a temporary point of armor, because the Cyber Slaver has basically just ripped your arm off and replaced it with a mechanical cyborg arm. When your wounds meet your cyber hits, you turn into a Cyber Slaver and you play the rest of the game as a Cyber Slaver, trying to augment the rest of the crew. So that's the Cyber Slaver. On top of that, you also have the Garr'Goyle. The Gargoyle's got a very interesting defense mechanism. It's got stone skin. Basically, no matter what damage you do to it, when it gets hit, it will only take 1 point of damage. And then it turns to stone and becomes completely invulnerable for the rest of the round. The good thing about that is that once it's turned to stone, it doesn't move. And because this is a reflexive defense mechanism, you can defend yourself against the Gargoyle by playing a combat card with a fist icon face up into your active defense area. That means that if the Gargoyle moves into the same space as you with an active fist defense, it feels threatened, turns to stone, doesn't attack you. But you're having to waste a combat card doing that. Don't flinch. If you flinch, you die. And then you've got the Ulaar. This is a genocidal alien driven mad by the impenetrable armor that it's encased in, and it is completely immune to all physical damage. The only way that you can stop it is by finding a med kit in the front of the ship, somewhere in the front of the ship, here, or by finding a combat surgery in one of the military cargo bays at the back of the ship. And then you can dismantle that combat surgery, pick it up into your hand and use and lose it in order to try to defeat the Ulaar, because the only thing that will kill it is a flu vaccine sprayed into its breathing vents. But that's not all, because at least 2 of these pirate missions involve finding XWT control somewhere in the cargo bays at the back of the ship. And if any of you have ever found XWT control, you know what that means. Yes, we activate the Sentinel Protocol. Now, the Sentinel program turns every company android on the ship into a killing machine intent on stopping XWT control being taken off the ship. That's right, Skins basically changes his programming and starts going after you. You'll note that Androgina does not change her programming because she's not a company android. She's hardwired against this. But Skins isn't the only company android on board this ship, because what's also on board this ship is Fen. Now Fen, as those of you who've played the original game may know, is a cute little cyber retriever who runs around the ship picking up tokens and bringing them back to whoever has found it. Until he gets angry, at which point he turns into FNR1R, known lovingly as Fenrir to his inventors, the Cyber Hand from Hell. And when the Sentinel program goes off, Fenrir's sole purpose is to hunt down and kill whoever has got XWT control. Thing is, in Pirates, you may not have already discovered Fen when XWT control is revealed. If that's the case, then Fen automatically appears in cargo control. And if his token is ever revealed somewhere else on the ship, it's just discarded. And once he's in XWT control, he's basically getting in the way of getting back to your ship, and all bets are off. So that's it, really. I think that's about all I can tell you about the new stuff on Pirates and Salvage. I hope it's given you a good overview of what you will get in this expansion. As ever, with Pandora, you get a lot of stuff. And there's a whole new set of ways of playing and a whole new set of nasties that do different things to the nasties you've already come across. So it gives you a whole bunch of new replayability. All of this in one neat little package, which when it's packed together, like so, can be packed into the box and doesn't take up any more shelf space than it was already taking up. I can't say fairer than that, can I? I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. I hope it makes you want to buy Pirates and Salvage, or even Pandora Celeste if you haven't bought it before. And I hope you have as much fun backing into dark corners as I did making them. Thanks for watching. Bye.